All right, today we are diving into one of the weirdest, coolest mysteries in the entire animal kingdom. It's something that looks like it should be impossible, and it features one of the oldest predators on the planet. So just look at this image. You see an alligator's snout, its nose, just sticking out of a completely frozen over lake. The rest of its body is locked in solid ice. Now your first reaction, my first reaction, everyone's first reaction is, well, that's a dead alligator. But what if I told you it's actually completely fine and very much alive? The real question is, how in the world is that even possible?
To really get how they pull this off, we first have to understand the huge biological problem that any reptile faces when the temperature starts to drop. I mean, this should be a death sentence.
Okay, it all comes down to one really important word: ectothermic. You and me, we're warm-blooded. We're like little furnaces, always generating our own heat. But alligators, they're cold-blooded. That means their body temperature is basically a mirror of their surroundings. If the water's warm, they're warm. If the water's cold, they're cold.
And there it is, the big problem. If the water around them hits freezing, then logically their bodies should freeze solid too. We're talking their blood, their organs, everything. For pretty much any other reptile out there, this is game over. But alligators, well, they have a seriously ancient trick up their scaly sleeves.
And that trick, that incredible answer from nature, has a name. Now, it's not hibernation, what bears do. It's something similar, but you could argue even more amazing. It's called brumation. So, what is brumation? Well, it's basically the reptile version of shutting down for the winter. It's this state of extreme slowdown, where their whole body just powers down to conserve every tiny bit of energy when it's cold and there's no food around.
And when I say powered down, I mean it. An alligator's metabolism pretty much flatlines. Its heart can slow down to just 3, maybe 5 beats per minute. I mean, think about that. But here's the craziest part. Unlike a hibernating bear, they're not totally asleep. They stay semi-conscious, still aware of what's going on around them. And that little bit of awareness, that's the absolute key to survival.
Right, so that leads to the next obvious question. Even if your body is barely running, you still have to breathe, right? You still need oxygen. So if you're stuck under a thick sheet of ice, how do you solve that pretty simple, but pretty fatal problem?
Well, they solve it with this incredible, deliberate move. Scientists call it icing or snorkeling, and it is just a total masterclass in survival. It's one of those things you see in nature that is so smart, it's hard to wrap your head around.
So let's just walk through the checklist. First, using that sliver of consciousness it has left, the alligator actually senses the water temperature is about to hit freezing. So, before that ice seals the surface, it swims right up to the top. Then, it positions itself perfectly, pointing its nostrils just above the water, and then it just waits. It holds perfectly still while the ice freezes solid right around its face.
And this, right here, is the main takeaway. This is not some accident. The gator isn't getting stuck by surprise. No, this is a planned-out conscious action. They are literally building their own personal snorkel out of their own face to make sure they can breathe while they're entombed in ice. It's incredible.
So when you step back and look at what's really happening here, you realize you're not just seeing a weird animal fact. You're watching a masterclass in adaptation, a lesson in survival against all odds.
And you have to remember, this isn't some new trick they just figured out. This is an ancient instinct, a strategy that's been sharpened and perfected over millions and millions of years of evolution. It's what's allowed these prehistoric survivors to push into colder climates and live through insane environmental changes.
So in the end, that alligator you see frozen in the ice, it's not a victim of the cold. It's a master of it. It's just a stunning, brilliant example that life doesn't just find a way. It finds a clever way to outsmart the most extreme conditions you can possibly imagine.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Every single time we think we figured out the rules of life on this planet, nature shows us something like this that just completely blows our assumptions out of the water. What other incredible survival stories are going on all around us, just hiding in plain sight?